Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. It is absolutely fantastic you are here. You are very, very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video, and when I looked at that one, it went for like 27 minutes, so a bit long for YouTube, I'm thinking. But we were looking at some really important stuff. We're looking at the effect of trauma, particularly in how the brain deals with it. So I looked at it and thought, well, it's all pretty good stuff there. So, I trust that you enjoyed that one. I did actually quite enjoy doing that one as well. And so I trust you enjoyed the Boomtown Rats and their song I Don't Like Mondays. And as we looked at the effect of trauma on the brain and what it actually does. Well, we go from there, I suppose, to not so much an artist, but a whole heap of artists today. A snapshot in time and a movement that was created to solve a problem. In the 1980s was a rich time for music. We started to get the big stadiums, and I talked a little bit about this in the Bay City Rollers clip a little while back now. I talked about the fact that we had big arenas, big stadiums. There was so many artists at the height of their careers. We had big arenas, we had big music, we had stadium rock, we had all of that sort of stuff going on. And so it was only a matter of time, I'm thinking, before everybody, it felt like everybody in the music industry was going to get together to actually make a significant difference in the world. And certainly this is what happened in 1984. Because in 1984, Bob Geldof, as he was at the time, looked at what was going on in Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, and was appalled at what he was looking. Starvation, people dying of hunger. It felt strange to him that in this world that we live in, that there were so many people who were going without, and so many people who had plenty. And so he said, well, I need to do something about this. And so he decided in 1984, together with his mate Midge Ure, now he was from the band Ultravox, the synth rock band Ultravox, to write a song. And that song was Do They Know It's Christmas? And what he decided to do was to form this group of the who's who of the UK music industry to get together and to record this song for 1984, the Christmas period. I suppose it's a bit of a fundraiser for Ethiopia, and just to try and make a bit of a difference. Well, that kind of went okay, but Bob Geldof then thought, well, we could take this one step further, and maybe on a particular day we can actually get all these guys together, and for there to be concerts, not just in the UK, I'm sure that's where it started, but worldwide. And so in 1985, after much promotion and much thought and much discussion, there was a day that was picked, and there were concerts worldwide. There were two notable ones. The one was in Wembley, and that had 72,000 people attend. And then over in the USA, in the JFK Stadium, apparently the numbers are 89,484 people watched the concert in the United States. And there were many other concerts in other places at the USSR, as it was known then, Canada, Japan, former Yugoslavia before that divided a little while back, Austria, Australia, and West Germany. Now, bearing in mind this is 1985, Now, the Berlin Wall came down in 1991. So it's quite amazing to think of an event of this significance pre the Berlin Wall coming down. So there were certainly many concerts, and the plan here was that they were all happening at the same time, or on the same day in particular. And so what in a sense was happening was we had a worldwide movement on one day. Now, this concert has been alleged to have been watched by 1.9 billion people over 150 countries, and that's around 40% of the world was watching this concert. Never before had there been an entertainment event that had captivated the world as much as this one. And certainly Bob Geldof's hope was that it was going to raise money, much needed money, for Ethiopia in particular, because the images were just too confronting to him to actually deny and not do anything about. Of course, Bob Geldof's not scared to write about songs which have social commentary. You know, looking after number one, well, that sort of speaks for itself a bit. I Don't Like Mondays is another one where it's very much social commentary about the world and how strange it can be at times. Now, it's estimated that Live Aid raised $127 million. So that's a phenomenal effort, really, for a bunch of guys. We're talking 1985, so that's a lot of money back then. Money that was raised to alleviate some poverty, or to help to alleviate some of the poverty in Ethiopia, and I'm sure some other African countries as well. So what is quite compelling about Live Aid, I'm thinking, is the number of musicians that got together, both in the UK and in the US in particular, to record their songs, which I'll get onto in a minute. And not just the musicians, but all the stuff that needs to go on behind the scenes. We're thinking about technical people, sound engineers, lighting, staging, promotion, security, all of the stuff, and of course the live televising as well, which would be a massive feat. If you think about 1.9 billion people watching one thing, there's so much tech required to pull that off. And so Live Aid was just one of those snapshots in time, really. It was a snapshot in time, and one of those moments where everybody got together for a common cause. I suppose it's really like a movement, really. Back when I did the song, when I looked at Berlin and their song Like Flames, I looked at movements back then, and I looked at the fact that sometimes things need to rise up to challenge the current status quo. And this certainly did that. And I'm thinking that the world just got a little bit smaller because of Live Aid. Now, Bob Geldof became Sir Bob Geldof. He got knighted for his achievements with Live Aid, and certainly a well-deserved achievement for him. So there were a couple of significant songs. The first one was "Do They Know It's Christmas." This is the UK song. As I said before, that was written by Bob Geldof and Midge Ure. Midge was from the band Ultravox, and this particular song went to number one in 13 countries around the world. And so a very significant song indeed, and really it's just a simple message of, do they know it's Christmas? How can they, with what's actually going on in their country? There have been a couple of, revisions or re-recordings over the years as well. In 1989 we had Band Aid 2, where they re-recorded it. In 2004 they had Band Aid 20 or 20, and 2014 they had Band Aid 30, and I suppose in each of those re-recordings, the artists changed, and you'll see in in a link below, I've got a Wikipedia link to this particular song, and it's really worth having a look at that to see the artists that were involved in the recording. I mean, I could go through them here, but there's just way too many of them, too many huge significant names. And so I encourage you to go and look at the Wikipedia entry for Do They Know It Christmas to see who's actually in that performance. As I said before, 1985, there were some massive artists at their height of their careers that were available to record this song. This is what makes it so compelling. Well, that was on the UK side of the Atlantic. On the US side of the Atlantic, they too decided, well, we're going to get caught up with this movement as well, and we too are going to record a song. This is no competition. Look at us saying this. We just want to be able to do our little bit of effort to actually make a difference in this world. And so in 1985, Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson got together and they wrote the song We Are the World. They got Quincy Jones to produce the song. Now, Quincy produced the album Thriller, and we just know how successful that album was. You know, I remember in Australia, it was #1 for over 12 months. And so America got together, and as USA for Africa, they recorded We Are the World in 1985. Now, this particular single sold 20 million copies, and it is the 8th best-selling single of all time. That is a phenomenal effort. And again, in the description below, there is a link to the We Are the World, and just have a look at the names that are there, and the incredible breadth and just expertise of the musos in this particular clip. You'll be just staggered at who everybody that is in it, again at the horror height of their careers in the 1980s. Interestingly, in 2010, there was a re-recording of the song. It was 25 for Haiti. Now, Haiti is just one of these countries that is extremely poor. It seems to me that whenever they kind of start to get somewhere, a natural disaster hits them, and hits them big time. We had the earthquake in 2010 that rocked the country, and then we've had hurricanes and cyclones since. But what I do know about Haiti, I know a guy that lives in Cap Haitian, who's up the north, and he talks about the beauty of the surrounding hills. He talks about the beauty of the beaches, and he talks about the stunning, beautiful culture of the people that live in that part of the world. And you know, Haiti has a beautiful community spirit about it, but it is also extremely, extremely poor. So it was great in 2010. There was a re-recording of the We Are the World, again with some new guys, to provide some funds for Haiti. Very cool indeed. So yeah, the Wikipedia entry for that particular song is below, so you can just check out and see who recorded in both of those versions. And so yeah, Up Movements. This is well and truly Up Movement. It was an incredible moment in time. I do remember this particular day. I think I was 15 at the time, and so well and truly can remember this particular day. Such a profound day, such a significant day, and such an important day for the world. 1.9 billion people, 150 countries watched it. 40% of the world was engaged with this thing. Band-Aid, We Are the World. Live Aid, $127 million raised. incredible effort, and certainly Bob Geldof's dream of, I suppose, a better world just came to fruition just a little bit as the world got together to look at poverty and hunger in the world. I suppose it's hard for me, living in a Western country, to actually know what it means to be hungry. I think we can very quickly go down the guilty track with this and say, "Oh man, I've got everything and they've got nothing," which is true. But if anything, what Live Aid encourages us to do is to look at where we are, look at the world that we are in, to be aware of what's going on. Don't just pretend like there's nothing happening, because there is. And even in our own small parts of the world, to be able to just make a significant difference in our part of the world, because there are many thousands and thousands of small parts in the world that need you to be a positive difference. Bob Geldof had the dream of making a positive difference a bit bigger, and he certainly did do that. If you do want to be aware maybe of what's happening in the world, I really encourage you, as I have done, to subscribe to some United Nations mailing lists. We've got the Humanitarian arm. They're the ones that provide food when there's been a disaster or conflict, which seems to be the big thing at the moment, is conflict and people having to escape where they are because of that. We've got the Refugee Agency. We've got the World Food Programme. As I said, we've got the Humanitarian arm of the United Nations, the Security Council. There are many arms of the United Nations. So if you want to know a little bit more about what's going on in the world, because we don't always hear about it in the news, I invite you to subscribe to some of the newsletters that United Nations put out. They do actually have very innovative ways of actually showing the data. So it can be really good just to get a bit of awareness, a bit more about what's happening in other parts of the world than just Adelaide or wherever it is you might live. So I encourage you to do that. Well, on to the clips today. Now, I've already talked about the fact that there are 2 Wikipedia entries to the 2 songs down there, because if you want to know who was in them, by all means, look those ones up. Now, we've got 2 versions of Do They Know It's Christmas. We've got the original version from 1984. Then I thought I'd also include a later version recorded by a new bunch of guys, and so both the links to those 2 songs are there. And I thought I'd do the same for We Are the World as well. We've got the original 1985 version, and then we've got a later version from 2010, and they are 2 separate versions of the same song with 2 different groups of artists. So I encourage you to look at all 4 of those. Now, one of the things that Wembley Stadium became famous for on that particular day was what is generally considered one of the best rock performances of all time. And when Queen hit the stage, now they weren't as popular as they were a few years back, but when they hit the stage, things just lifted. More money got donated. The world shifted quite significantly with this 20 minutes that Queen did in Wembley Stadium. Of course, in the recent movie Bohemian Rhapsody, you see this performance, enacting of this performance, and you know it has been considered the best rock performance of all time. Freddie Mercury just has a way about him. Queen are an extremely incredible act. Now, it's going to take me a long time in this series to get to Queen because they start with Q, and I'm actually in B at the moment, even though this is Live Aid. It's a bit of diversion. But I've got a bit of a clip there. Freddie Mercury's iconic leading the audience in the Hey, oh, that bit there. So it goes. So I just thought, just to capture some of the energy that was Live Aid, I thought I'd just put that particular clip in as well. The best rock performance of all time. And when I get to Queen, I might actually look at this a bit more, but I thought you might enjoy that one as well. So again, the links to all of those songs and Wikipedia entries are in the description below. So look at all or any or some or whatever you'd like to do. I'll leave that one totally up to you. Well, that's it for today. If you come back for another video, thank you very, very much indeed. It's fantastic that you've come back. If you got to the end, good as well. I was always love the engagement I'm getting on this channel. So thank you very much for that. Well, that's it for today. Next time, we're going to go on to the vocal stylings of Boz Scaggs. So until then, I'll catch you around.